Hello and welcome to this Captain Marvel review. Because of the controversy around the build-up to this movie, I thought it poignant to get a second pair of eyes. So another opinion to assist me with this review so that it isn't just one man's opinion. So I have a special guest along to help me do that. Someone who's been forgotten about over the years, someone whose voice has fallen silent over the last few decades. But before I begin, I will say, we are aware of all the controversy surrounding this movie, with Rotten Tomatoes, what they did, with the director and the actors having said things prior to the movie being released. These points have all been covered by many other YouTubers who have delved deep into those topics. While I'm not dismissing them at all, I just don't want to give any opportunity to tarnish this review for anything other than a movie review of the actual movie content, and not some agenda-driven propaganda video. So this is a movie review, specifically on the merit or lack of merit that this movie has. This channel is about TV shows and movies and not drama. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest, and we have Wolfman here.
Thanks for the introduction. Let's just begin this.
Okay, so I thought we could do a review where I'll bring up points of interest from the movie and give my opinion, then hand over the floor to you and let you voice your opinion. Of course, this is all going to be spoiler free. So let's start with the story. The story of Captain Marvel was interesting. I myself found the story to be interesting enough. If the entire object was to give us the backstory on Carol Danvers, the movie has achieved that goal. Was I on the edge of my seat throughout the movie? No, not at all. Was it predictable? Yes it was. But did I like the story? It was okay, it served a purpose. Okay, Wolfman, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts. Abductive reasoning is to abduce a logical assumption or best guess from a set of observations. You said it yourself. Was it predictable? Yes, it was. Were you on the edge of your seat? No, not at all. It served a purpose. What is that? Served a purpose? The story was unoriginal and mundane at best. So let's move on to the next point.
Okay. Let's move along here. Okay, so let's talk about the characters. So Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, of course. I found her hard to really get to know because she doesn't really know herself. So the backstory really does seem to let the character down. It didn't really deliver an interesting history of her and what happened. If anything, her backstory was washed over very, very quickly. Nick Fury, another character, whilst I liked seeing his origins a bit more, I felt there was a bit of an injustice to that character, almost to become comic relief within this movie. I'll touch on the comedy in a bit. I did find a few of the lesser characters shined more brightly in this movie. But the problem is they didn't get a chance to shine for very long. The Supreme Intelligence and Talos were some of them, which were quite good. What are your thoughts on this one there, Wolf?
I agree. The backstories are far too condensed, which makes them almost irrelevant. The snippets used didn't really help Captain Marvel's character development at all. I was disappointed on how woefully incompetent they made Nick Fury. It was ridiculous. Don't even get me started with Yonrog. But I wholeheartedly agree with you. The lesser characters, if given a chance, would have delivered a far more whole story and a more complete world.
So let's move along here. Let's jump to the script and the pacing of the movie. I thought it had some cheesy parts in it, but that's to be expected, right? Cheesy one-liners from a superhero movie, it's kind of run-of-the-mill. But I found a fair amount of scenes, really awkward. Almost laborious to watch. Generally, when things became serious in the movie, it felt out of place. It felt strange. They didn't really seem to work in the movie. And the polar opposite for the comedy. So the comedy would have suited this movie a lot more. But for me, the comedy was really subpar. Once again, it just didn't hit the mark.
Hold on. Let me stop you. When comedy is subpar, you mean it isn't funny?
Yeah, I guess so.
Let me ask you this. How many times did the audience audibly laugh in the movie theater? I heard it once. If this was a comedy show, it would have been a train wreck. This comedy didn't hold a candle to Thor Ragnarok, or any other movie in the MCU universe for that matter. Now let me mention the awkward scenes you referenced. They weren't just awkward. They were agonizingly painful, but what made it far worse was the audio track.
I'm glad you raised the audio track there, because I wanted to cover audio next. So the entire audio for this whole movie seemed irregular and very mismatched. From the quiet emotional scenes to the action scenes, nothing really seemed to synergize well, and nothing really delivered that powerful scene.
Mismatched? Clearly, the director didn't get the memo. Pop music doesn't work for action scenes. Rap music? Yes. Electronic music? Yes. Rock music? Sometimes it can work. Heavy metal? Most definitely. I don't think anyone could look like a badass fighting to I'm Just a Girl by No Doubt. It's not fight music. Pop music is not fight music. There's a reason that pop isn't used in these type of action scenes.
Okay. Settle down. Okay, now let's talk about the elephant in the room. So this is probably going to be pretty good. As many people probably want to hear your thoughts, possibly not mine, on this component. Did the movie try to push an agenda? Did it try to cash in on feminism? I myself found it was blatantly obvious that it was a female empowering movie. Was that an asset to this movie? I didn't think it was required. If anything, it made her backstory very cliche, delivering that backstory, and I just didn't think it seemed to work.
Stop being vague and circumlocutory. It's a story about Captain Marvel. She's now the most powerful hero in the MC universe, and they made her backstory soulless and bland, filling it with cliches. This is Hollywood trying to cash in on feminism. Simple. Instead of writing an interesting rich backstory, it was just transparent and superficial.
Okay. Well, the person I saw it with didn't think it was over the top. She mentioned it was obviously present, but for her, she thought it was acceptable. I don't think I want to ask her any more about that topic. Otherwise, we'll go down a rabbit hole here. But before we wrap up with our final thoughts, one more topic. How does this movie fit into the Marvel Universe? I myself think it's a bit of a raw deal. For Captain Marvel as well. It's a raw deal for all the characters in the MCU. This character, who we now have, has been rushed in last minute. She will probably come to save the entire universe from Thanos. So all those years of build-up for the other characters feels cheapened by this. They should have introduced Captain Marvel years ago with a far more in-depth storyline, but maybe she won't save the universe. Well, we're going to have to wait for the Avengers Endgame movie to find out. But I will just feel that it's an injustice for the characters that we've followed for years and years, who have lengthy backstories, multiple movies, character interactions and development. And now boom, along comes Captain Marvel with this movie which is not working out so well, and it feels wrong. I'm kind of scared to ask your thoughts on this, Wolfie, but what do you think?
I couldn't have said it better. You said it right. It just feels wrong.
Okay, so let's finish with a summary. So for me, the movie gets a very average rating. The story was weak. The comedy was inconsequential. The audio was unsuitable and out of place. The actors were very hit and miss. Jude Law, I felt, was just going through the motions with this movie. Brie Larson's performance was mediocre. Samuel L. Jackson's script really let him down. And some of the lesser characters did well, but once again, they didn't get a chance to shine as they weren't in the limelight enough. Visual effects for the movie were top-notch. Some really cool scenes visually. I mean, that's to be expected, right, with the amount of money that would sink into this movie. But overall, I found the movie adequate. Just adequate, really. Okay, so what are your final thoughts, Wolfman?
No matter how much you try and get out your polish, all you are still doing the whole time is just polishing a turd. This film lacks character, it lacks originality, it was generally soulless, having very few redeeming features. Generally, it was a letdown, especially to the Marvel Universe. Is this a terrible movie? No. Is this a good movie? No. It's just mildly satisfactory at best. I did enjoy my meal from the snack bar.
Okay, thanks for that. And yeah, that actually wasn't a meal. That snack had a name, and he was one day from retirement.
Yes, he was a little bit chewy, a little bit stringy.
Okay, we'll leave this here. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave me some feedback below, and hope you enjoyed the special guest as well. But for now, I shall leave this video here, and until next time, this is Mesh, and I'll see you later.